Okay, so I think we are now live. Uh, Let me just check on that. Okay, uh, there. Um, so let's uh, let's begin our live stream discussion for this evening because our live stream discussion is centered mainly about the topic on the death of the Miss Universe brand, which is when we asked everyone on Instagram to give their opinions or thoughts on what our next discussion topic is going to be. A lot of you guys discussed and voted for the option that we first discussed, the death of the Miss Universe brand, which I think for me makes sense because if we're going to talk about the Miss Universe brand and its demise, it also makes sense that following after that is going to be the discussion on how can we save this dying brand from further eroding and from further making a mess of itself. Okay? Because I think the discussion has to be started first on what caused it and what are the things that we can do to save the pageant. Um, a lot of you have discussed and posted on social media, whether you are pageant pages or just fans of the Miss Universe pageant, whether it's on Facebook groups, on your opinions on posts about the Miss Universe pageant. You've all greatly have passionately discussed and debated amongst yourselves about this topic. And I think that it would be very disingenuous of us if we don't discuss this topic in our live stream because we have held back from talking about the leaked video on the Miss Universe meeting of Khun Anne, Raul Rocha, and several other officials of the pageant. And the reason for that is because I believe that video is damaging not only to the ownership and leadership of the pageant itself, but to the Miss Universe brand as a whole. And the reason why I was skeptical in the discussion of this video because I know that when I discuss this, this is going to be one of those nails in the coffin that will cement its demise. I believe that. I feel that. And for me, to talk about the demise of a well-loved pageant like the Miss Universe pageant is not something that I relish to do or I hope to do with much vigor and enthusiasm. It is something that is painful and it's a discussion that really is going to need a lot of further introspection whether or not the discussion on it itself is going to be helpful for the brand or not. But I have realized that in order to talk about the good, we also have to talk about the bad. And in order for us to see where the pageant can improve on, can in essence save itself, we need first to discuss how did we get here? How did it? How did the pageant get to the point where the brand is struggling itself, and that it has lost, major points for its brand equity. The brand equity, as I've discussed with you from previous mga live streams, is the brand's power. And how does the brand power of the Miss Universe pageant is now at a shambles because of that leaked video. So I will try that for this hour or so na discussion, we are going to do our best to discuss where did it start, how did the brand, the Miss Universe brand started its decline, and what are the factors that led to it. Okay, so magandang gabi sa lahat. I am welcoming everyone to this very intense, I believe, na topic on the survival of the Miss Universe pageant and the brand itself. And I do hope that our discussion for this evening is going to be a mature one where your thoughts and my thoughts can hopefully, move us forward into either acceptance or either action on what we can do to help the Miss Universe brand to survive, thrive, and perhaps recuperate in terms of the damage that the brand is currently facing in terms of its reputation. Okay, so may mga comments na. Magandang gabi sa lahat. Ben Hernandez is here. Sabi niya, good evening Sir Jess, watching live from Marikina. Salamat Ben for always being here with us in our live stream. I agree doon sa sinasabi mo na malaking dagok sa Miss Universe yung leaked video. But I think that is just one of the latter parts of scandals, na mga controversies, na mga issues that created major dents in the pageant. I think the start or the decline of the pageant started way earlier than that, and this is what I wanted to discuss in this live stream episode. Okay, going back to Ben Hernandez, sabi niya, nakakapagtaka kung sino nga ba ang kumuha ng video at bakit niya ginawa yon. I know the second question is an understatement, but one cannot help but wonder, why would anyone do that? Just being honest. Okay, I think the intention is is a moot point at this point in time, because whether the intention is for good or for there's bad intention there, the effect is just the same. It kinda damaged the reputation of the brand right now, that everybody is talking about it, and I think it will come to the point that one of these days, international and major news outlets are going to be talking about this, because it seems to be start to spread. And the only reason I believe that some news portals or news outfits and sites are holding back from covering this, it's because it is quite libelous. This can ultimately be something that can be discussed or thrown into a court proceeding, because the contents of the video that was leaked are not acquired in a legal manner, or it can be used as what do you call this, as a defamatory evidence by the Miss Universe organization on any outlet that would peddle the news, especially when there isn't much what do you call this, there isn't much validity on how this was taken. And if there is, like for example, an NDA that everybody has signed in that room, the people who took the video and published it can ultimately be sued for defamation. So it's kind of a very tricky na legal issue if ever na big pageant, big networks are going to be talking about this. So we're just we're just trying to contain it within the pageant community as of now, because if this becomes a major issue and it becomes a global issue, and it becomes bigger than it is currently, even much bigger than it is currently, I think it will ultimately kill the brand itself. And knowing that the current owners have just recently acquired the brand, I think that they're going to do everything to protect the brand. But it also means that they won't be wanting to sell the Miss Universe pageant or organization because of the investment that they have poured into it. So we will be talking about that a little bit later. And I will try to expound a little bit more on the thought process, my thought process on that part. Okay, where were we? Okay, Jonathan Perez is watching from Canada. Sabi niya, he's religiously watching my vlog. Salamat. Thank you very much for the what do you call this? For the support, and I do hope na sana um, mag-continue yung support ninyo by watching our live streams and our videos. Okay, sabi niya it's 5:15 a.m. here in Canada, minus 19 degrees Celsius. Okay, it's good to hear that it's quite cozy or cold there kasi dito naman sa Pilipinas paparating na yung hot na weather, and it is expected that we might be experiencing around 40 degrees in terms of the heat index that we will be experiencing in this summer here in the Philippines because of the El Nino phenomenon. So, I hope na hindi tayo hulas parate dahil it's going to be a very hot summer, okay? Rain is not expected to fall uh, during this months, and it is expected na siguro around May pa magkakaroon ng ulan. Loyal Fan 99, in my opinion, MUO lost its credibility when it started pandering to DEI. Okay, I'm not sure what that means, but I hope you can clarify. Okay, so intro pa lang parang naka 11 minutes na tayo. So let's break down muna first yung talking about discussion. Okay, DEI sabi ni Loyal Fan is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, that is one of the things na pag-uusapan natin a little bit later, because what we're going to do is focus on just four major events, four major things, issues, controversies, etc. That really dent Miss Universe brand. And these are things na I think overall can explain all the controversies, all of the difficulties that the Miss Universe pageant has, all the changes in ownership, all the financial issues, and the changes in requirements on age, on eligibility to become Miss Universe. It all boils down to, I think, four major categories, and all of these four categories have placed a highly in the demise of the pageant, or rather in the slow death of the pageant. Okay, so before we begin, I will make sure that I will be talking about these points, and then I will pause for a little bit of a break to read your comments so that may continuous na flow, and then go back to the points that I'm going to be discuss para magkaroon ng dire-diretsong flow. Hindi tayo magkakaroon ng issues on palaktaw-laktaw tayo ng mga comments and mga ideas and opinions nyo with regards to the topic. So we will do discussion points first before some of your comments, and then go back to the discussion points, and then we end up with your comments and final thoughts. Okay? So, before pala we begin, there is a poll that I'm currently doing for our live stream. So if you check the upper right segment of your screen at the chat box at the top of it, you will see a poll there where I ask you what do you think rather is the biggest blow to the Miss Universe brand and its a slow death that is happening right now. So you have like four options there. First one is the option that you probably think that wokeness, the woke pandering rather of the Miss Universe organization has led into people abandoning the pageant, and therefore it created the current situation that we have. The second option is that probably the decline of the TV ratings is something that really, created problems for the brand. The third one is the leaked video on fake inclusivity, because I think that is one of the major reasons why we are at this point in the pageant. But also, there is an option there that the feud between Paula and Khun Anne is something that cemented that created the biggest blow in the death of the Miss Universe brand. Okay? So, let's begin. Unahin na muna natin yung discussion on because I have 4 points that I believe are some of the major reasons why the brand is dying. And we have rather the publishing article on my blog where I explain more of these points. I think in my blog I will be having around 6 or 8 points that that further expands on the topic. However, for this live stream, I think I am only focusing on the four biggest na mga reasons kung bakit sa tingin ko nagkakaroon tayo ng problema with the Miss Universe brand. Okay? So, the first one is the decline of the TV ratings. I think that this is something that a lot of you are not quite familiar with because not every year we get updates or news on the ratings game because the most difficult part of getting information about the game is that sometimes the channel the Miss Universe have partnered with in the last couple of years, it's quite difficult for them to and release of what is going on in terms of their viewership. Actually being telecast on traditional TV channels like Fox, CBS, or NBC Universal, we get major news reports talking on. Okay, there's something about. Let me try mic. Hello? Okay, how about this? Is it okay? How about this? Let me know if okay, there, sabi ni loyal fan, it's better. Okay, so as I was saying, one of the things that I think we need to discuss is the decline of the TV ratings because this is one of those parts of reporting and metrics that is easily measurable and that can easily be seen whether or not the telecast is effective. And with the current situation where the Miss Universe pageant is being telecast on Telemundo and on Roku, we cannot see, or they don't necessarily publish on a regular basis the ratings game, unlike before when it is being telecasted by what do you call this traditional television stations like NBC Universal, Fox TV, and CBS. We have Nielsen's rating that will give us an idea on whether or not these pageants or their finals are able to garner more audiences or not. More audiences for television necessarily means that there are more opportunities for ad selling for that time slot. So, ibig sabihin nun, when you have higher ratings, you get more, you get higher earnings in terms of ad revenues because there are more people tuning into your program. More advertisers essentially means better ratings, better relationship with the television network. When the pageant is televised and it has high ratings, it not only helps the Miss Universe brand but also the television partners that they are working with because they get higher eyeballs, meaning bigger audiences for the pageant, and at the same time for the TV networks they can charge higher television spots or television ad revenues doon sa mga advertisers nila. That means that it's a win-win situation for the pageant and for the broadcast network. That also is something that has been a steady decline since the year 2010. Okay, I have here on my notes the some of the ratings numbers where in 2006, that is actually the highest that I can find among all the years of the Miss Universe pageant, where 9.6 million viewers was watching the Miss Universe pageant in the US. Again, the Nielsen's TV ratings is based on US audiences. Okay, so in 2006, that recorded 9.6 million viewers, which is the highest for the pageant. Which is when you compare it now at 2022, that was the last year, I believe that. Sorry. It was the first year that the pageant was broadcasted on Roku channel and is no longer under Fox TV. They had only 2.4 million viewers. So, ang laki ng agwat. And starting in 2010, the Miss Universe ratings has been on a continuous decline. Although there are years where it might, spike up a bit, but it did not necessarily maintain, an upward curve. In fact, it continued to have a downward spiral. In 2010, they had 6 million viewers. In 2011, they had 5.3. In 2012, they had 6.1 million viewers on NBC Universal. In 2012, they had 6.1. In 2013, it dipped down to 3.7 and then went back up in 2014 with 7.7 million. Now, 2014 is the last year that the Miss Universe was broadcasted in NBC Universal, because in 2015, the Miss Universe started its relationship with Fox TV. And Fox TV, on its first year, despite, the controversy that happened during the wrongful announcement of the Miss Universe winner, they only garnered 6.2 million viewers, which is down from 7.7 of the last versus the last year. It continued to go down in 2016 with 5.21 million. In 2017, it went down to 4.4. In 2018, it went down further to 4.19. In 2019, it again went down to 3.82 million. Then in 2020, there was no data available because it was telecast over FYI channel, which is a cable channel. And then in 2022, it garnered 2.4 million viewers. And then in 2023, it had 2.48 million viewers. So that means that steadily from 2010, it went down to 2.48 last year. So you can see now that this was the precursor, or rather this is an indication that there is a problem with the Miss Universe pageant. When viewers are abandoning the pageant, the viewership of the pageant, it of course, hurts the ad revenues of the broadcast partner. And I think that is something that we need to understand, that this is both a symptom and this is both a problem to the Miss Universe organization. I think that this, this problem, regardless of whether the the ownership is under Donald Trump, under Endeavor, or under Khun Anne, you can see that the trend, the downward spiral of the ratings game of the Miss Universe is hurting visibility, is hurting ad revenues for the pageant. So it means that there is not much interest with the pageant anymore. And I think that this is something that Paula Shugart, being the president from on those majority of those years, should have done something in order to make the pageant relevant to more people. And that comes with the second issue, which is the Miss Universe pageant started to woke pedal, and because of that,
they alienated the traditional audiences of the Miss Universe brand. I'm not saying that this is all Paula's fault, but I think this is a shared fault among the owners, the president, and the decisions that they have cumulatively made over the years. Because this is not something that can be blamed on just one person. I think everyone from the time of the Trump era down to Khun Anne's era, the pageant faced a lot of controversies and a lot of issues. And that I will be discussing on my fourth point later on. So, because Paula had to do something with regards to the declining audiences, she had to have her ears on the ground on what the US audiences is needing, wanting to happen for the Miss Universe brand. And this is where the wokeness came in. The requirements started to change, and we can see that in 2012 when they allowed transgender women to compete. And then somewhere between the years of 2016, 2017, and 2018, the Miss Universe actually removed the height requirements, the minimum height requirements for the pageant. And then later on, at around late 2022, they've removed the restriction on, they call this restriction on unmarried mothers, wedded mothers, and married women to compete in the pageant. And then, of course, one of again another shocker that happened a year after was the removal of the age limits altogether in 2023. So, because of that, some traditional pageant audiences who are more on the conservative side, who are right-leaning rather than left-leaning, which the organization seems to be, they have now felt that they are being alienated from the decision-making of the Miss Universe organization. So, the Miss Universe now appears to be left-leaning, meaning pandering to the progressive audiences in order to recuperate the lost audiences and markets, as evidenced by the declining ratings. So with that in mind, now we now also see this woke pandering being held, or rather being shown at the Miss Universe stage. So in every turn of the pageant, we see, all those wokeness being, advertised in every Miss Universe edition. And it's not that I don't like it. It's not that I am not agreeable to it. It's not that it's the wrong direction for the pageant to have. But we have to recognize that this is not something that is helpful to the alienated audiences that they have. It also means that because of this, people started to look at the pageant with content more towards woke videos rather than entertainment. And I think that's another issue that helped with the steady decline of the Miss Universe pageant. We all know that the Miss Universe pageant is one of the most entertaining, one of the most glamorous competitions when it comes to pageants. And this is something that I think that the Miss Universe kind of forgot, that ultimately their finals should be something that is entertaining for everyone, for every member of the family, because its ratings, or rather its audiences is from people ages young to mid-teens to young adults to mature adults to senior citizens, and they kind of forgot that the entirety of their market is not just the left-leaning progressive crowd. And I think that ultimately alienated majority of its pageant base or its fan base that later on, because of the multiple options, whether it's Miss Supranational, Miss Grand International, Miss Earth, Miss International, Miss World, and etc., they now have options to move away from the Miss Universe brand. So, it's not just because, Miss Universe is the only pageant that matters, but fans who felt that this is no longer the Miss Universe or the pageant that they grew up with, and they no longer fit into the demographic that the Miss Universe is trying to acquire or, to please, they have now moved on to other, international pageants that gives them the entertainment that they want. And that is something that I think hurt the pageant altogether. Okay, there is actually another, issue or another reason why I believe this is hurting the Miss Universe brand deeply, because nakatali dito yung third and fourth points. So I will try to explain that a little bit later, because I want now to go and discuss some of your comments in the chat box. Okay? So Saldi Salen says, I think the dip in TV ratings started in the latter days of Trump era, worsened by his rants against some Latinas. Saldi Salen, in as much as I agree with that, I believe that the TV ratings started to dip way earlier. The brand started to have major issues when it comes to TV ratings. I think it started late 80s to early 90s. And then when Donald Trump was able to purchase the pageant, he actually, for a time being, increased the viewership of the pageant. I believe, I do hope that I am able to finish my research on this with the ratings. I believe that with Donald Trump, he was able to generate interest and was able to increase TV ratings of the Miss Universe pageant somewhere in the mid 2000s. However, I believe that it was just a short, break, or rather, it was just a calm before the storm, if you might want to, if that analogy fits, because upon his acquisition of the pageant, it kind of moved up first before it started to have a steady decline in the 2010s. So I think that because of the social landscape that we're in, that is the one thing that definitely created, a problem in terms of TV ratings dip. I think ultimately, mas nakalala yung mga controversies of the pageant, because it kind of moved away our attention from the finals, where it should be, the focus of everyone when it comes to the pageant, and then, do some relevant stuff for social relevancy throughout the reign of the Miss Universe winner. That didn't happen during the 2010s because, for whatever reason, scandals and controversies have been seemingly the bloodline of pageants in the past, decade. So, and this is worsened by the presence of social media. So I think medyo mas complex yung what do you call this? Yung problem on TV ratings, because there was a dip in TV ratings that started way back pa, towards the late 80s, 90s. So I believe that I cannot fault Donald Trump solely on that. Okay? The Beauty Critique says, good evening, Jason. Registering my presence and attendance in support of your credible vlog. Thank you very much. This is kind of a painful na discussion and topic. So medyo kinakabahan ako because I don't know if this is something that the audience will be able to accept with an open mind or digest with an open heart. Kasi there are some stuff here that I will be discussing later on that I believe could hurt, our perception further of the Miss Universe brand. Okay? But I think it's needed to be discussed because if we don't discuss it, if we don't talk about painful stuff, we're not able to process it. And if we are not able to process it, we cannot move past it and we cannot learn from it. And that is, I think, the crucial point here that we learn from these mistakes. Okay? GR F says, nawala yung comment. Wait lang. Okay, sorry. I think I scrolled too fast. I always said Miss Universe needs to be in the hands of Americans for fair operation. I knew about Anne before Miss Universe. She always was an attention seeker and had unfair business, and Mexican owner is much worse. I think that is stereotyping because all of the issues that all in the years that the Miss Universe was in a steady decline started during the American ownership and presidentship of the Miss Universe pageant. So maybe if we kind of how to say this, if we kind of go back to the history of the Miss Universe pageant, if there was a president of the Miss Universe organization that really created, all of this wonderful stuff that we now remember about the Miss Universe, that would be Harold Glasser, who was president from 1975 to, I believe, 1985 or 1986. Or became president earlier pa. I'm not sure. I need to double check my my research on that because it's still half baked. Okay, but I believe during the presidency of Harold Glasser, he was able to design the new crown, the very famous Sarah Coventry crown, which became the crown for a long time of the pageant, and I think that under his leadership. We had very high profile na mga brands sponsoring the pageant, and I remember that in the 1980s and in the 70s, some of the people who are invited to judge and invited to sit as a judge in the Miss Universe pageant are really A-celebs. During that time, Tom Jones, Enrique Iglesias, no, not Enrique. The father, Julio Iglesias Sr., sat on the judging table for the Miss Universe pageant. I actually even remember, I think in the 1980s, Gloria Estefan, when she was very famous with the Miami Sound Machine, performed at Miss Universe. So these are some of the fondest recollections that I have of the presidency of Harold Glasser. And I think that in terms of his presidency, I agree. He was an effective one. But to blanketly say that because of the ownership being American, that kind of is a little bit off to me because I'm not sure on the ownership of the pageant when it was under. Let me check my notes because I have some research notes on that. When Kaiser Roth Corporation took over, the pageant, I am not sure if they're 100% American owned or when it was under Gulf and Western Industries. I'm not sure if they're not multinational, so it's kind of a bit of a generalized and stereotypical statement to say that because its American ownership, it will still be as good as it was. Maybe we needed this change to make it more of a global pageant, more of a global ownership in terms of global pageant in terms of ownership. Sorry, so that we are able to be more open for diversity, real diversity in the leadership of the pageant. So I don't know. Your comment is making me uncomfortable because I think that it's too much of a generalization to think that only Americans can do an excellent job when it comes to pageantry. Because let's say, for example, Miss World, it has never left the ownership of Julia Morley and her family, and they're still surviving. So I don't know. Maybe that's a generalization on my part as well. So let's see. Nasa na ba tayo? Okay. Loyal Fan 99 says, network TV in general is in decline with the rise of streaming. However, the rise of streaming only started towards the latter end of 2010s. So that does not explain the ratings decline that happened from 2007 to 2015, for example. Going back to GRF, sabi niya, PS, new co-owner is worse than Anne. He has much worse record, including criminal acts. If I were an organization, I wouldn't feel comfortable sending my gal in custody of these people. Okay, GRF, if you are going to say something like that, you have to substantiate it with evidence. Because if you say, someone is a criminal without actual facts to back it up, then that's defamation, and that's not something that we do in this conversation. Justin Basco, Miss Universe was struggling with relevance, not with representation. What they decided to do with inclusivity, although admirable, is not the answer to the problems. I kind of agree with that, because pandering to an audience that has generally made a generalized notion that the pageantry is misogynist, it's outdated, it's not socially relevant, is like trying to feed chocolates to someone who does not eat chocolates. It's like trying to feed meat to a vegan or a vegetarian. And I think that is something that the Miss Universe needed to understand. I think this now goes on to the territory. Your comment, actually, Justin, is something that goes now to the territory of the third point that I wanted to discuss. And these are issues pertaining to within the organization, because the what do you call this, the problem on relevance, social relevance of Miss Universe was further aggravated by internal na mga struggles, ng mga changes in leadership of the Miss Universe organization. Because for every change in leadership, there is a different perspective on the problem. If the problem is relevance and not representation, I think the 90s representation was much better than the fake inclusivity that the Miss Universe is peddling now. Because in the 90s, early 90s, and I'm not talking about the 96 onwards, but I am talking about 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, we would see women of color being represented at the, what do you call this, at the Miss Universe semifinalists. And during that time, in order to, to market the Miss Universe winner as someone who is smart, someone who is not only physically beautiful but also intellectual, someone who's smart, someone who can communicate, the Miss Universe made changes in the format of the pageant. Because in years prior, there was only, one Q&A segment, and that is the final question and answer. In the 90s, the change in format in order to, to make changes with the make changes reflecting the social changes that is happening at what do you call this at globally. They made sure that there is a get to know you segment with the Miss Universe candidates who make it in the semifinalists. That is why they introduced the interview in the top 10, because in that interview they will now show that these women are not just good in swimsuits and evening gowns, but also they can speak, and that they have personalities, and that there are women who are career women, accomplished women who are lawyers, students of architecture and medicine, master's degree holders, and etc. And that is why the 90s for me was able to address diversity in a much better manner than the fake inclusivity that the Miss Universe seems to be peddling. Because in the, let's include, the 1990s years where we have multiple women of color making it in the semis. Excuse me. We would see, someone who is studying as a lawyer, Wendy Fitzwilliam, make it winning the pageant in 1998. And then we have Mapule, Kuela Gobe, the first, black-to-black winners. And this kind of happened during the Donald Trump era. But after the 90s, that is when we saw, a lot of Latina and European domination at the pageant. But in the 90s, you would see countries like the Bahamas, you would see Trinidad and Tobago, you would see countries that you haven't necessarily seen at the Miss Universe semifinalists, like Italy, Ariana David and Dani Mendez. You would see, Curaçao's Verna Vasquez. You have women like Sylvia Lakotosova of oh my God, it's not Czechoslovakia. Slovak Republic. And then you have Estonia. You have countries that are wide range in terms of representation, that they don't even needed, what's the name? The continental grouping to ensure that women from Africa, from Asia, from Europe, from the North and South Americas enter the semifinalists, because their judging table is quite diverse. So in terms, I agree with with Justin Basco saying that that the Miss Universe was struggling with relevance, not representation, because I believe that the issues within the organization, within the Miss Universe organization, is that the leadership and the people who run and own the pageant have lost, their direction. And because of that, financial woes popped in. They're not able to balance between relevance and business strategies because they cannot define for themselves what the problem is all about. I think that the problem is about maintaining relevance in a changing pageantry landscape. And that I think and I believe is something that both the owners and the people who run the pageant seems to have missed, even if the problem is staring at them, at the face. Kumbaga parang sa lapit niya, para na silang mga taong tinuklaw na sana ng ahas dahil ganun na lang ka-obvious kung ano yung problema. The problem is they don't see it that way. I think what they did was brand-aid solutions by pandering into the woke crowd rather than going back into what the problem is all about. And because there is, constant changes in leadership, let me just give you an idea on the changes of leadership. From the time that it was established in 1952, I think there's at least 5 or 6 owners who had had a hand at the Miss Universe organization. I think the first one is of course Pacific Mills, and then it was Kaiser Roth Corporation. Let me just check my notes here. And then when it was acquired by Gulf and Western Industries, it held it up from 1970s to I believe early 1990s, and then for a short time being, it was owned by Procter and Gamble, and then after that, it was sold to Donald Trump, and then even during the years that it was under Donald Trump, there was a time being there that it was co-owned with NBC Universal. So, anim na yon. And then, it was sold to Endeavor, and then it was sold to Khun Anne, and then it is now co-owned with Raul Rocha. So, with that in mind, there was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 10 owners who managed the Miss Universe brand in ways that are different from each other. So you can just see the inconsistency there, where it kind of helped, or rather kind of aggravated the problem that the pageant is having. If you are struggling with relevance, then that is the problem that you should tackle. But the problem is the organization did not tackle that. Instead, they started pandering on the things that is not a problem of the Miss Universe organization, and all that they should have done is simple. If they want inclusivity in their semi roster of semi-finalists, the best thing that they can do is hire or to get judges that reflect that kind of inclusivity. Diba? It makes sense. If you have an African, you have a plus size person, if you have a person of different religion sitting at the judging table, if you have representation across different continents in terms of origin and ethnicity, then you would get that same thing in the set of semifinalists that you have, because each of these people would look for the kind of woman, Miss Universe, that reflects their idea of beauty. Because what happened during the years of Donald Trump, the WMEIMG era, it was that a lot of their selection committee, their judges, are actually either Americans or people whose ideals or idea of beauty probably is a little bit American leaning. It's like hiring a Filipina doctor who is born, educated, and lived in the United States. Of course, that person would be that person's perspective of beauty is westernized, is Americanized, because that is the audience, or that is the the location, the culture, the tradition that she grew up with. That is the society that she grew up with. So it doesn't make sense that you play on all of this stuff when, if you want inclusivity and diversity, all you need to do is change the people who select the Miss Universe winner. And mind you, that there are reports dating back during the Trump era that at least 9 of the 16 semifinalists who make it into the semifinalist circle is selected by the owner, by Donald Trump, during that time. And there are New York Times reports on this that I've read. saying that the organization can select up to 9 semifinalists in a top 16. So that means they have the power to make changes on who makes it into the semis. They have a hand on who selects the winner. I am okay with that only if they make sure that the judging table, the judging panel, is a judging panel that reflects the kind of diversity that they want, or the kind of inclusivity that they want seen and reflected in their semifinalists. So, this is something that, I believe should have been addressed when the owners and the people who manage the pageant have a sit down and really define what the problem is. Because I don't think that they are aware on the root causes of all of these problems. Now, let's talk about the fourth point that I wanted to discuss, and this is a history of scandals. In the 1970s and 60s, the Miss World was the hotbed when it comes to pageant scandals, crowning a married woman or a woman with child at that time who hid, her marital status. Then you have like a winner who within just 24 hours, relinquished her title. Someone who they dethroned because she was like gallivanting with the stars rather than doing her job. So at that time, that was detrimental to the Miss World brand. However, starting the 90s, the Miss Universe started with the scandal of Donald Trump calling, Alicia Machado, Miss Piggy. And then that did not cease until his eventual, selling of the Miss Universe pageant in 2015, where, he called Mexican immigrants names and did, very unsavory things about Latinos, where during his time, he profited with making sure that at least, 4 or 5 Latinas make the semis of the Miss Universe pageant. And that's kind of, for me, a little bit shady, because he probably wanted, to fast track his campaign for the American presidency. So, and even after that, upon the acquisition of the Miss Universe pageant by IMG, they again started their year with one of the biggest controversies that the pageant has, faced, by announcing the wrong winner. Whether it was planned or it was an honest mistake, I think it kind of gave a dent into the image of the brand, the image of the Miss Universe pageant, that this kind of things can happen, that they can mistakenly, announce the wrong winner or the wrong semifinalist who make it into the top 3 or semis of the pageant. It could happen like that they can make a mistake. And, with that, it again erodes, the reputation of the brand. And then now we have this leaked video that further cements the final, the final nail in the coffin, that people can now actually believe that all of this inclusivity, all of this talk about being a fair competition is just lip service. And the mere fact that there is a video circulating out there that is saying that if you are fat, if you are plus size, if you're a mother, if you are a senior citizen, if you are old, if you are all of this, all of this stuff that they suddenly open their arms to welcome into the pageant, you can join but you cannot win, is a slap on the face on the integrity of the brand. And I think that is a huge dent on the trust that people have with the brand, the reputation and integrity, and of course, in the later on, the prestige of the brand itself, because suddenly you have a competition that is not a competition anymore, where you can you can see how it can be, a sort of a gatekeeping of how far, people of different color, of different body size, can go as much as far that they can do in the competition. It's for me, that is something that the Miss Universe should not represent. And unfortunately, this is the reality that we are facing. And all of this, you put them together and you get a recipe for disaster. You already have a decline in terms of TV ratings, and therefore it affects revenues both for you and your broadcast partner. You have a situation where your fake inclusivity is broadcasted to the world to talk about and to discuss, and then you also have this problem within the organization that you're not in harmony together. The mere fact that Khun Anne and Paula Sugart have a feud, have a clash in management style, in personality, this also added to the headache that the Miss Universe brand is facing as of this moment. So this is something I believe that if you put them together, nobody's gonna come out winning. So I think that in order for us to be able to deal with all of these problems, we need first to acknowledge that this is a huge issue, that this is a huge problem. Because if we don't acknowledge these problems, that these exist, then how are we going to learn from the lessons that these situations is trying to teach us? Everything they say is a teachable moment. And I think that this is something that the Miss Universe organization and the Miss Universe owners need to acknowledge and face, because I believe that there is hope for this brand. I strongly believe that because of the loyal fans, the fan base that has been through, thick, thin, through Harold Glasser, through Donald Trump, through Paula Sugart, and now Khun Anne. These are things that I think can help solve the issues that the brand is currently having. You have a loyal fan base, and the only thing that you need to do is to take care of them. I think that is one of the first and primary solutions that the Miss Universe organization needs to do. Touch base with your market, because the Miss Universe organization feels like it's far off from its core audiences as of this moment, that it does not know who they are serving for, who they are existing for. And if the Miss Universe organization goes back to the drawing board and touch base with its market, with its audience, with its loyal fans, then every step that they do is the step towards the right direction in solving this problem. Okay, so let's go back to the comments and in the poll, because I think we now are very interesting, because right now 56% of you believe that the leaked video on fake inclusivity is the biggest blow to the Miss Universe brand. There is a staggering 31% coming in at second, saying that the wokeness of the pageant is the reason why we're in this position as of this moment. And there's a split 7% each on the decline of the TV ratings and the Paula versus Anne feud. as the reasons why you believe that this situation were caused by these two things. Okay. Let's come up with some of your comments, because some of your comments are really very interesting. Okay. Wait a minute. Loyal Fan 99 says, this decline makes me think that this decline makes me think that most of Miss Universe audiences are actually of the CIS identification. I think so. Although there are no numbers, but I believe there is also a huge number of the audience of the Miss Universe organization that are LGBTQIA+ na community. So unless I am able to get or we are able to get a clearer and more well-defined research on the market that follows the Miss Universe, I think all we can do as of this moment is to speculate, and we cannot base our decisions and our interpretations of stuff on mere speculation alone. Okay, the beauty critic says, as a side issue, what is the chance of Miss Philippines in Miss World 2024? Gwen does not have the it and heft of a Megan Young. Hoping she places, though, in the semis. I am hoping that she makes top 5 for Miss World, simply because I think that a win for her is a win for the Miss World Philippines organization. As you all know, at this point in time, the Miss World Philippines org, nalagasan sila ng pagkarami-raming mga franchises. I don't want to say nasulot, but it's up to you if however you interpret it. But if she manages to win, even if it was just a top 5 placement, babango yung Miss World Philippines na organization. So I am hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, that at least man lang sana Gwen would make top 5 in Miss World later this March 8 or I think March 9. Pierre says, sadly, Pinoy fans play in sustaining Miss Universe, especially considering the org's apparent disregard for them, exploiting inclusivity merely as a means to drive profits without honoring the essence of the brand. I think that you can do inclusivity without making it look like it's fake or put on, by changing the people who selects the Miss Universe winner. And I've illustrated that earlier in this discussion. I think furthermore with that, in order for those changes, inclusivity to be more felt, the organization should reflect that as well. That is why I am kind of glad that we have Miss Olivia Cuido at the Miss Universe organization. There's a Filipino there. There is a Thai there. There is a Nicaraguan in the organization. There is a Latina from Miami. There is Mexicans. And then there is, if I'm not mistaken, there is even a Guatemalan in the organization. What I wanted to happen is that maybe in the future they would also hire someone who is African, who is European, who is somewhere from the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, in order to make the organization reflect the global image that it wants to project. Because it does not make sense that an organization who is as global as the Miss Universe organization is only held by Americans. And majority of the leadership are white Americans. So I want as much as possible that there is diversity in gender, diversity in continents, diversity in ethnicities, diversity in gender, in body structure, so that we really feel, the inclusivity that they are trying to sell to us. So that's my take on that. But I do hope na this organization would evolve for the better, because if they evolve for the better, then that is, a good thing for the Miss Universe brand in the long run. Okay. Dikonan says the death blow was done by the current owner. I don't think that it was just Khun Anne and Raul Rocha and the current owners who dealt the death blow. I think it's just another one of those increasingly piling up, issues that the organization is currently facing. I think that I am hoping that this will not happen, but I think that there is one more issue further along the pipeline that might be the one issue that would break the camel's back, so to speak, that needs to be stopped before it happens. So hopefully, the people who owns and who manages the pageant can rally and address all of these issues in an ethical and in a moral manner. Okay. There is this very heavy question from Richard Ampig. Richard, thank you for this question, because I think this question, is something that I've been trying to avoid. Okay, and I think there's no point backing out at this point in time. The question that Richard asked is, are you still hopeful of MUO's redemption under Anne's leadership? I am still hopeful. And this is because that is the only thing that doesn't run out of when it comes to dire situations, to situations where everything seems, to be going down. Because I believe that if the Miss Universe organization is able to give us a very deserving winner, a very entertaining finals, a very, well thought out, well paced pre-pageant schedules and activities that, drives interest towards the pageant, then I think that we have an opportunity to grow and redeem ourselves with the Miss Universe organization. I believe that if the owners would sit down and be be honest with themselves on what the Miss Universe organization or what the Miss Universe brand is about, who is it serving, what are its core values and its ethos, and how do they navigate the pitfalls of running a business morally, ethically, and with integrity. If the organization would really just sit down, go back to the drawing board, and really address all of these issues in a manner that they self-reflect, and really be committed to the sacrifice that is needed in order to revive and redeem this brand, then I think they can pull off a redemption arc with the pageant. Because right now I don't feel that this brand is particularly good. I think it's damaged. But I still think, and I still believe that it is redeemable. Ultimately, it's not about numbers, but it should start with, with integrity and bringing back all of these things that was lost along the line, and the numbers will come back. Okay. So yes, I still feel and I still believe deep down that this is a brand that can still be salvaged. Okay, nasa na ba tayo? Uh, Loyal Fan 99 says, yes, if she pivots back to the Miss Universe core value, her background won't matter if her management is flawless. I agree, and this is not just only on Khun Anne, but for every member of the Miss Universe organization, from the CEO to the president to the chief financial officer. Sorry, it's VP for finance, VP for marketing, VP for PR and relations and whatnot. This is a heavy task that everyone in the organization needs to have a part of. They need to spread out and carry the burden together, because this is not achievable or solvable by just one person. It is a company effort for everyone to bear. So I think it's still it's still salvageable talaga. Okay. Nasa na ba tayo? Dikonan says, I do not agree that the wrong announcement winner in 2015 affected MUO brand. In fact, it was in 2015 that got so much business partnership with MUO compared to previous years. Ben Hernandez says, recipe for disaster and demise. Pierre says, former ME's decision to join MU is regrettable as it undermines both the org's integrity and authenticity, highlighting the dangers of allowing oneself to be exploited for the sake of fake inclusivity. Okay, quite heavy. Ishtin says, authenticity is zero. Inclusivity is zero. Therefore, MEO is doomed. Perhaps. But I think we all can try to look at this with a glass half empty, glass half full perspective. Yes, it is damaged, but I don't think that it is at a point where it is irreparable. I don't think that it has come to the point where totally nobody is going to ever watch the Miss Universe pageant anymore. And I am hoping that in November of this year, I can go back with this live stream, and hopefully, all the things that I am hoping for, that I have discussed in this live stream, would be something that the Miss Universe has started to address by then. Nasa na ba tayo? Ben Hernandez, sabi niya, responding to Ishtin, says, sabi niya, it's not doomed. They are just really beyond doom. They are already beyond doomed and extinct. Okay? I don't think that, because come Miss Universe season, I have this strong feeling that a lot of us will still go watch, would still follow on social media, would still, see the progression of the pre-pageants, the preliminaries, and the finals. We will still be supportive, even if it's not something that we all are wholeheartedly supportive of. I think that's the reality here. We are saying this because we haven't seen what the organization, the new organization, will be offering come November. So maybe it's just we're just jumping the gun because of the damage that the pageant image is having right now. But if it is able to weather it with integrity, we might be seeing back the support going back to Miss Universe. Okay. So where are we? So okay, Comment from Loyal Fan 99. What does a beauty pageant sell? An ideal. Who is your market more likely to accept, Lizzo or Taylor Swift? Um, I think that is a question. That is a valid question. And I think everyone needs to to ponder, Ponder, okay, needs to ponder the answer to that question. I think that is a valid question that the Miss Universe organization should be asking themselves so that they are able to, address all the problems that they are currently having. Okay, now let's go back to our poll before we do our final thoughts on this matter. Um, Okay, so 56% of you says that the leaked vid on inclusivity is the reason why we are at this point now with regards to the Miss Universe brand. 31 of you believe that it's the wokeness of the pageant that dealt the biggest blow on NU, while the Anne versus Paula na feud, the very public feud, is at 7%, and the decline of the TV ratings is at 6%. Okay, so let's end that poll now, and you know, final comment from Dansom SNJHSM. Okay, sabi niya, I'm just tired of Miss Universe since last year. Please give us a goddamn break. Okay. I think issues with pageantry will continue to pop up. And that's because it creates conversation. It's something that people are more likely to engage with. Because nowadays, I think there are more people who are commenting when it's a scandal or it's a controversy. And that's just how it is. Marites tayong lahat. We all like, to gossip. And that is something that is not going to change. But when it comes to the topic that we're discussing, which is, the death of this brand, it is slowly dying because of cumulative, problems, issues, controversies that have started way before, the current ownership. We've started to see decline in the Miss Universe ratings is even from the 90s pa. And that is because starting in the 90s, there was a shift on consumption, a shift on ideology. There was the feminist movement that happened, that became very strong in the 80s and in the 90s, that came from the 1970s. And because of all of these societal changes, if the owners are not able to pivot and are not able to address the root cause of the problem that that is reflected because of the ratings of the pageant, then it is more likely that they're gonna make mistakes, and those mistakes would of course lead to financial issues. And this is the reason why the Miss Universe have been passed on from one organization to another in its life existence, from 1952 until 2023. There was major changes in ownership of the pageant. In fact, the mere fact that in its 70 years of existence, we saw at least almost 10 different owners of the pageant. It tells us that the Miss Universe needs to constantly reinvent itself and seek relevance to be aligned with the societal changes and technological changes of streaming and social media, because these are things that makes the pageant relevant to its audiences. But at the core of this, they need to stay true towards integrity, fairness, fair play, They need to stay true with the what makes the Miss Universe a brand that is trusted. Because at the end of the day, you know, changes may happen, but if you are true to your core, then you would survive. You know, the what do you call this? The, the 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 changes. Okay, you need to be able to define who you are, what your brand stands for, because if you stay true to that, changes may happen, things may start shifting from one technological advancement to another. But if you still know who you are and what you stand for, then it's easy to navigate towards your true north because you know who you are and you know what you stand for. You know what the social landscape that you are serving, and you can easily pivot by accepting change because established ka na on who you are as a brand. And I think that is the point where the Miss Universe brand has lost itself. Na nawala yung idea niya kung sino siya at sino yung market niya at ano yung pinangangatawanan niya. And I believe that this brand is not totally or terribly damaged that it cannot survive. I believe that there is still hope for this pageant, and that is why the Miss Universe 2024 in November is going to be the litmus test to see whether or not it can progress or it can move forward. Okay? Let me just read some of your comments. Oh, Jonathan Perez, I haven't seen your question, so I apologize for that. Dansum SNJHSM says, on the other side of the coin, the more elegant side, Binibining Pilipinas just released a Rufa May video after Gloria Diaz video. They are on to something talaga. Nasa na ba tayo? Ishtin is asking, what if the Philippines will not send a delegate to Miss Universe? Will there be a big impact to its organization? Let me just tell you, I don't think that the Philippines will not send a representative because why would the organization pay allegedly $225,000 which is equivalent to maybe around 8 million pesos here in the Philippines, to the Miss Universe org for the franchise fee for this year and not set a delegate? I mean, naglustay lang sila ng pera? Yun na lang ba yun? Is that, you know, a smart business na practice? Unless they cannot find, you know, a candidate that is worthy of the title, I don't think that will happen. Nasa na ba tayo? Okay, sabi ni continue ni Ishtin, siguro the brand cannot be destroyed, but the people behind it is the one damaging it. Richard Ampig says, you guys have resilience. So yes, I think if the Miss Universe truly is resilient, they should be able to weather these storms. And I think, you know, as a final thought with all of this, what's happening with Miss Universe organization, I believe that huge sacrifices on the owners, the people who manage the brand is needed in order to salvage what is left on the goodwill that the brand represents. Okay, I agree dito sa comment earlier. I think it was Richard Empig with his question regarding, you know, is it salvageable? I still agree with full positivity that this is a brand that can still be managed in terms of its image. This is still a brand that can be uh, can be salvaged. The only time that it cannot be salvaged is when people have given up on it. I think that is the time na saka na lang tayo mag-empake because hindi na kayang mag-survive ng brand na ito. If it lost its market, if we no longer follow it, if we no longer, if its loyal fan base has essentially abandoned the brand, I think that is the ultimate moment where the brand is dead na talaga. And right now, I still think that a lot of its pageant fan base is still hurt, but there's still love remaining there. So if the Miss Universe organization can tap into that, I think they can survive. Okay? So maraming salamat sa lahat ng sumubaybay. Thank you very much for everyone who watched our live stream and participated and discussed and conversed with us in this live stream. I do hope that before we leave, you do leave a thumbs up in our video because it's gonna help us a lot, especially as we try to keep on growing the channel in this in this platform. So thank you very much. I do hope everyone a great evening ahead. Have a great weekend ahead, and pag-uusapan natin next time yung what can we do to salvage the Miss Universe brand. Okay? So watch out for that because I think that is going to be a more uplifting and a more positive discussion because I have a lot of things that I believe can help the Miss Universe organization to deal with all of this mess. So, okay, I do hope everyone is gonna enjoy that later on. But for now, we're signing off and see you in our next live stream. Okay, have a great weekend, everyone, and see you in our next live stream. Bye.